everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Activation Podcast. It's me, your host, Dr. Nazif, back again with another amazing guest. And today we have with us Stanley Bronstein. So, Stanley is an attorney, CPA, life coach, and author. But what really has astonished me and what actually led me to ask or request Stanley to kindly join this podcast is to go through his journey of transformation. So I'm sure we'll listen to that journey. But thank you so much, Stanley, for joining the podcast today. How are you doing this morning, sir?
Fine, sir. Thank you for having me, doctor.
That's wonderful, Stanley. Can you share a bit about yourself with our audiences and this wonderful journey of transformation that you have embarked on?
Okay, I'll give you the quick version and we can fill in details along the way if we choose to. The quick version is my mother died when I was 8 years old, and
So sorry to hear
it
that.
impacted my life, obviously. And I was living with my massively obese father who did not understand proper nutrition, did not understand healthy habits, and we both literally just ate ourselves to oblivion. From the time 8 years old on, I started getting bigger and bigger and bigger, more and more obese. By the time I was 13, I weighed more than I weigh today. So yeah, you have a lot of men that they're proud that they weigh the same that they did when they got married. Well, I weigh less than I did when I was 13 years old. I don't know whether that's funny, good, sad, sick, whatever, but that is the truth. And so I got bigger and bigger and bigger. Along the way, I maxed out at 367 pounds, which is what you can see in the picture on the left. Picture on the right is what I look like now.
Wonderful,
Around
amazing.
145 pounds. Big difference. And I did it with no drugs or surgeries. Now, what happened to me, I had times along the way where I would lose some weight, but then I would go right back to my old habits. The weight would come back on plus more. But as I was approaching the age of 50, I'm 66 now. All this happened 17 years ago, February 1st, 2009. I call that day my rebirth day. I just celebrated my 17th rebirth day 7 days ago. Anyway, I was 4 months away from turning 50. Was 320 pounds at the time. I wasn't at my full max, but I
Okay.
was still pretty big. I was 320 pounds. I hadn't had a heart attack yet. I had not had a stroke yet. I was not on diabetes medication or high blood pressure medication, but I probably should have been. However, I didn't go to the doctor, so I don't know. I avoided the doctor. All these things were coming. I mean, I have no doubt in my mind that I was in for a rough ride if I kept going on the way that I was going. I asked myself, as a lot of people do when you're approaching a milestone age, both men do that and women. I said, where am I going to be in 5 years if I keep doing what I'm doing? Would you care to guess what the answer was?
No, can you tell me?
Dead.
Oh,
I said
okay.
that if I keep going this way, I'm going to be dead in 5 years, and I don't want to be dead. So
For
I
sure.
said, I woke up and I said, I need to make changes right now, not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, not next year, right now. And the changes I need to make are I need to learn to start eating better right now. Again, not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, not next year, right now. And I need to start getting some form of exercise. I need to get off my rear end and I need to get some form of exercise. And I decided on walking because I figured walking, you did not need a lot of special equipment. You could do it almost any time, almost anywhere. And I figured it would beat my body up less than most other forms of exercise. So I said, I'm going to start walking. And little did I realize how prophetic my words were, because that's exactly what I started doing. So the important thing is that was not the first time in my life that I told myself I needed to do something, but it was the first time in my life where I said I need to do something. And I actually took permanent action on it, not
Right.
temporary action, permanent action, because when you make temporary changes, you're going to get temporary results. When you make
That's true.
permanent changes,
Yes.
then you'll get permanent results. So we're going to talk about permanent changes. We're going here. So I said, I need to make some permanent changes. Well, here's what I started with. First thing I did was I was drinking scotch every day. I don't know if I was an alcoholic or not, but I do know that I was drinking too much. And I do know that I was serving the alcohol. It was not serving me.
So true.
So I said, no more scotch. I took my last bottle of scotch. I poured it down the toilet. I hit flush. I believe in symbolism. So
Mhm.
I got rid of it. I have not had a drink in 17 years and I don't miss it. And it makes it much more interesting when you go to parties and everyone else is drinking and you're not. And you watch everybody else's behavior and you go, boy, that's what I used to be like. So then the second thing I did was those 2-liter bottles of soda pop. I was drinking 3 of those a day. Yeah, yeah. Oh, wow is right. And I
Yeah.
was drinking diet caffeine free, so surely that was healthy, right?
Not
No,
really.
no. But the marketing people want you to think it's healthy. The soda
That's true.
companies want you to think, oh, it's diet caffeine free. It's healthy for you. No, it's not. So those, I said, I need to stop drinking those. Same thing. I took my last bottle, poured it down the toilet, hit flush. Then the other thing was I said, okay, I need to start eating better. So what came into my mind at the time was that I'm going to quit eating red meat. So I quit eating beef and pork.
Hmm.
I did all of those immediately. And that was very interesting for me to do that because my father was a butcher
Oh,
and
okay.
I grew up in a home with unlimited free meat. And
Mm.
for me to say no more beef and pork, that's an interesting thing to do because I had a lot of it when I was a child.
Mhm.
And so I did those things and I started walking. By the time I turned 50, 4 months later, I had lost almost 50 pounds and I was
That's
starting to
wonderful.
feel better and I was getting a little bit healthier.
Mhm.
And I kept going. After about 5 years of that, my walking activities started picking up and my weight kept getting a little lower, but it kind of stalled. I couldn't get lower than I wanted to be. So I said,
Mhm.
I'm going to make some more dietary changes.
Right.
I'm a big believer in nutrition. We're going to talk
Mhm.
about and when I say nutrition, dietary, I don't think dietary is just the food you put in your mouth. I think it's the thoughts you
Mhm.
put in your head. It's the environment you
That's
create for
true.
yourself. It's the people you surround yourself with. It's the activities you do. It's all those things. So I said, I'm going to make some more changes. I gave up chicken and turkey. And essentially, I went vegetarian is what I did. And I felt much better. I got stronger. And since
Mhm.
that day I turned vegetarian over 12 years ago, I've only been
Mhm.
sick one time in the last 12 years. And that
Oh,
includes
that's
COVID.
interesting.
That includes COVID. Now, I got exposed to COVID. My wife came home from a trip and she caught COVID in the airport
Mhm.
and she brought it home. And I had 2 days where my body felt off. I felt I was 75% there, but I continued my activities. I stayed on my program
Mhm.
and my body threw off COVID
Mhm.
because I have a strong immune system and I maintain physical activities. But the point is, from the moment I turned vegetarian, I saw major health improvements. But
Mhm.
it gets even better than that. After about 5 years of being vegetarian, I was at a point where I was walking 10 to 15 miles every day.
Oh,
I was
okay.
That's 15 to 20 kilometers every day.
Mhm.
Yet I could not get my weight below 180 pounds. It would not, and it would fluctuate 180, 190, 200, 190, 180. It wasn't stable and I couldn't get it below 180. So once again, I said, I'm doing something wrong here. If I'm walking that much and getting that much physical activity, there must be something wrong with my diet. So
Right.
lesson to learn from that.
Mm.
You cannot exercise your way out of a poor diet.
Okay. Can you please explain that a
Okay.
little bit better?
Okay, I saw an article the other day. It said, how much walking should a person do if they want to lose 20 pounds? And I think that article was totally off base because if you eat nothing but garbage and you eat way too much garbage, I don't care how much walking you do, you're not going to lose 20 pounds. You see what I mean? Does that make sense?
Mhm.
You
Right.
want me to restate that again? If Okay, think about this. If you eat a poor diet, if you eat
Mhm.
donuts, cookies, ice cream, lots of butter, things like that, yet you do a lot of walking,
Don't work.
you're
Right.
still not going to lose weight because you're eating
Mhm.
all that garbage food.
Mhm.
Does that make sense now?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
it does.
So that's what I mean when I say you cannot exercise your way out of a poor diet. That's
Mm.
something I learned. So I said, what do I need to change in my diet? Well, I gave up butter, cheese, and ice cream. In other words, I gave up dairy.
Oh,
I
okay.
went full vegan is what I
Okay.
did. And
And does that
before,
include milk as well?
yeah,
Sorry
and
to
milk as
interrupt
well.
you.
Yes, milk
No
as well.
milk.
And I'll elaborate on this. And also, just so you know, anyone listening, I'm not telling you this is what you have to do. I'm telling you, this is what I did. This is what I did gradually over time. I didn't do it immediately. And it's what has worked for me. Your experience may be different. Just listen, but listen to what I'm saying. And then we'll bring this back to you, the listener. Would you care to guess what happened when I gave up bread, butter, cheese, ice cream, and all dairy products? Would you care to guess what happened?
Like that plateau weight started to come down.
Lost 50 pounds in 5 minutes. I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
I melted because of all the walking I was doing. I was walking 15 to 20 kilometers a day. And when I made that dietary adjustment, the weight just came off. Boom. So that's what my roadblock was. It was not working.
Right.
That was the dietary change that was needed. And since that day, okay, I am 66 now. I just had my annual physical 3 or 4 weeks ago. My blood work numbers, I'll put them up against any 30-year-old you want to put them up against. Yeah, my blood work numbers are excellent. I feel excellent. I feel I'm 30, 35 years old, except I was not in anywhere near this kind of shape when I was 30 to 35 years old. I was when I was 30 years old, this is what I looked like. So it made a big difference. So as a result of all this experience of taking this weight off, becoming a person who does a lot of walking, a person who is capable of doing a lot of walking. I mean, and when I say a lot of walking, this is how much walking I do now. And once again, you do not have to do what I do, but I'm going to tell you what I recommend for people in just 1 minute. But I'm going to tell you what I do just to show you the power that is within people. Because this experience taught me 2 things. It taught me I am more powerful than I ever imagined. And it also taught me that if I am more powerful than I ever imagined, so is everyone else. If you are listening, you are more powerful than you ever imagined. Know it, feel it, believe it. And when I teach you that knowledge, when I give you that knowledge, the question becomes, what are you going to do with that knowledge? And for me, what that knowledge has taught me is that if I'm more powerful than I ever imagined, and I'm capable of losing 220 pounds and keeping it off, if I'm capable of walking as much as I do, and when I say walking, this is how much I walked last year.
Wow.
Imagine I started in Los Angeles. I came within 300 miles of London. I ended up in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, so it's a good thing I know how to swim. But that's how much walking I do. And I do that all the time. And I do it because I can. I have not found my limits yet. That's how powerful we are as individuals. So I'm showing you that. Essentially what I did was I took some unhealthy addictions and I replaced them with healthy addictions is what I essentially did. And because to be quite frank with you, I have an addictive personality. I do. When I do something, I'm all in. That's the way I am. But that's how powerful we are as people. Now, let me tell you what I advocate to someone that they do. If you want to get started, okay, first of all, I'm going to talk about weight loss, and then we're going to talk about personal development. I think of weight loss as a subset of personal development. Probably half the people need to lose some weight, but the other half don't need to lose any weight, but they can all use personal development. So anyway, if you want to get started on a healthy weight loss program, I advocate 3 things, and they're all easy things that almost anyone can do if you're able-bodied. First thing is eat less processed food. Less. I'm not saying never eat processed food. I'm not saying never eat fast food. I mean, I don't eat those things anymore, but I'm saying eat less of it. That's a goal anybody can do. Less junk food, less packaged food, less boxed food, less of that. I'm not saying totally eliminate it. I'm saying less of it. Now, stop eating 5 hours before you go to sleep. So in other words, don't take your food to bed with you. Give your body some time to digest the food you've eaten, some time to process the food you're eating. So if you go to bed at 11 o'clock at night, eat your dinner at 6 o'clock and don't eat any snacks after you do eat your dinner. Give your body some time. And then the last thing I advocate is, if you can, walk 20 minutes a day. The American College of Sports Medicine advocates 150 minutes of cardio exercise a week. So if you walk 20 minutes a day, 7 days a week, that's 140 minutes. That's close enough. But if you do that, let me ask you, if you could get people, I know you're in Canada, where
Mm-hmm.
my assumption is Canadians are generally a little bit healthier than Americans are. I think that's a safe assumption. But if Americans and Canadians would eat less processed food, quit eating 5 hours before they go to sleep, and walk 20 minutes a day, do you think we would be healthier? Yeah. And those are all doable things.
Can I ask you a question? Sorry to
Sure.
interrupt a bit. When you say processed food, what do you mean by processed foods? And
Okay.
I have another question because I can relate this to like my scenario as well. Because if someone is like a very busy individual and
Hmm.
they doesn't get the time to do those cooking to accommodate like some of the other things within their work or household chores or something like that, what advice would you kind of give them to?
Okay. The first thing first, I'll tell you what processed food means to me. Okay. It came out of a plant, not a a construction plant. Now, I'm not talking about the kind of plant you eat. I'm talking about, it was made in a plant. You have a factory where the
Oh,
factory
okay.
puts it together, puts it in a box for you. And
Mhm.
and you get a product with a big long list of ingredients, half of which you can't pronounce because you don't know what they are because they're chemical.
Mhm.
That type of food generally contains lots of added sugars and lots of added sodium, both of
Okay.
which, as a general rule, are very bad for you.
Mhm.
The only types of people who should be almost no one should be adding sodium to their diet. The only ones
Mhm.
who should be adding sodium to their diet are if you're a construction worker, someone who works outside, where
Right.
you're sweating all the time and you're having fluid loss. Yes, then you probably need to supplement your diet with some sodium.
Mhm.
But if you're just a general person who sits at a desk like me, you probably have no business adding sodium to your diet. You get plenty of it
Right.
from the foods that you're eating. Now, added sugars, those are almost always bad for you. Plus, I want to define sugar and define carbohydrates while we're at it. Everyone says carbohydrates are bad. That's
Mhm.
not true. Bad carbohydrates are bad. Good carbohydrates are good. And what I mean that is a piece of fruit. A piece of fruit is loaded with carbohydrates. It's loaded with sugars, but it's natural sugars. And there is lots of fiber in that piece of fruit. Eat the piece of fruit. The fiber in the fruit slows down your body's processing of the sugars in the fruit.
Mhm.
And so it does not cause your blood sugar to spike. It does not cause you to get diabetes. I mean,
Mhm.
doctor, I eat a ton of fruit every day, and my A1C at my last physical was 5 point, which is just for anyone who knows,
Mhm.
5.7 is where they start saying you have pre-diabetes.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
And mine was
The IG.
5.2, which I think is good. And I eat tons of fruit. But now if I were eating donuts, or eating those little packages of sugar that you get at the restaurants, or eating foods that have added sugars in them, that's refined sugar. And
Oh,
refined sugar, the fiber has been taken out of it. And because the fiber has been taken out of it, you eat that stuff, your blood sugar immediately spikes, and it ultimately causes you to get diabetes,
right.
but which is not good. So that's one thing right there. And in refined foods, you're going to tend to get in processed foods, you're going to tend to get way too much sodium and way too much sugar. And they put those things in the products just to make them taste better. And the reason they try to make them taste better is so that you, the consumer, will buy more of those products.
Moral. Yeah.
And so that they, the vendor, will make more money because they want your money. This is all about the money. Well, here's what I'm going to say about that. Everything I'm telling you right now, I'm not asking you for your money.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. I love money. Money's great. And if someone wants to hire me privately to work with me, I will work with them privately. But I take all of my materials, all of my books, all of my information is on my websites, and it is available for free. And I give it away for free because I want people to have this information. To
Right.
me, to
Mhm.
me, the mission is more important than the money. And
Mm.
I am fortunate that I am a phase in my life where I can say that. Not
That's
everyone
so
can do that.
wonderful.
Not everyone can do that. So that's
Mhm.
what I mean by refined foods. Now, and processed foods. Now you asked me a second part of the question. You said, what can people do if they don't have the time? First of all, that's one of the reasons I say reduce the amount of processed food, not totally eliminate it. Because I
Mhm.
realize not everyone has the time, or not everyone is going to take the time. But there
Mhm.
are simple things you can do you need to take a little bit of time. You can make your own lunch. If you work, I work with a lot of outdoor workers, landscape workers, that type of thing. And he says, I don't have time. I go to Burger King, McDonald's, and I get whatever food there is.
Mhm.
And I say, you need to make yourself a bag or take a little cooler with
Okay.
you. And in that
Mhm.
cooler, put some fruit, make yourself a sandwich if you want,
Mhm.
something that's healthy on there. And maybe eliminate the cheese from it, get rid of
Mhm.
the dairy, put that in there, take yourself some nuts. And when I tell people to eat nuts, I tell them raw is better and unsalted. And the
Okay.
reason why I say that is when most nuts you buy that are roasted, they roast them in peanut oil. So when they
Mhm.
do that, it adds more calories to the
Mhm.
nuts and more fat to the nuts. If you take raw
Mhm.
ones, it doesn't have that added fat, doesn't have the added oil, and it does not have the added sodium.
Right.
Put that in your bag and you take that with you. I tell my wife, she's outdoors all the time. She says, I didn't have time to eat. I keep in the house, I keep a container full of nuts, raw nuts. I have an air fryer. I throw them in the air fryer for 8 minutes. And when you do that, it brings out they taste roasted. It brings out the oils that are in the nuts, but it doesn't add any oil to it. And it
Oh,
makes it
right,
taste
right.
delicious.
That's a very good tip.
And
Thanks.
just so everything I'm telling you, all of this is on my websites. So
Mhm.
anybody can go there and get that. But anyway, and I tell her, take a baggie with you, put that stuff in there, and you have that. Did that sort of make sense? It takes a little bit of
Wonderfully.
work, but it's changing your habits.
No, wonderfully. That really, really does make sense.
Um, okay. You have any questions? What would you like to talk about? Now, this is
Yeah,
my website.
that's wonderful. No, thank you so much, Stanley, for sharing those really, really helpful tips. And I think because I myself, I'm currently on a weight loss journey, my experience was pretty much similar to you back in 2021. I actually, because I measure weights in kilograms,
Yes,
so I actually was able to lose around 38 kilograms
that's
at that
good.
time.
Good.
But what happened is that after a series of excuses that I can say, I gained all those weight back and
I've done
more.
that many times, so don't feel bad.
And more. So currently, I know it's a very unhealthy lifestyle. So currently, I'm again embarking on that journey of losing weight. So I have lost around 4 kilograms of weight in the past 1 month. But I'm trying to drive through it. The way that I'm following that is through tracking my macros, the calories that I eat,
Okay.
trying to do it within 1500 calorie diet. If so, yeah, do you have any advice on that?
Yes, I do have advice. First of all, that website that you directed people to
Mhm.
that's where my resume is, and that will link you to all
Oh,
my other
okay.
websites. But
Mhm.
I have two main websites. And the second one is what's important. millionpoundweightloschallenge.com. Can you see this on the screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, now,
Mhm.
and both of these two sites link to each other. Okay, but
Mhm.
I have tons of weight loss information on there,
Oh,
and it's
okay.
healthy weight loss information. Now,
Mhm.
that site you have to create an account, but it's a free
Mhm.
account. But you
Mhm.
have to create an account. I did that on purpose because I wanted to control who goes on that site and what they do. Because I wanted to create a safe space for people who want to lose weight. I didn't want to create a place where trolls go to make fun of
Mhm.
people who are trying to lose weight.
Right.
You
Okay.
understand?
That's
So anyway,
wonderful. Yeah.
now let's respond to what you were saying. First of all, my weight loss philosophy has become different. It has been years since I counted. And
Oh,
again,
okay.
that doesn't mean calories are unimportant. They are. But my philosophy is that if you make a commitment that you're only going to put healthy food in your mouth and you're going to quit eating when you're full,
Mhm.
you can pretty much eat whatever you want whenever you want, and you're going to get in shape.
That's true.
You
Yeah.
are. And first of all, I'm going to give you an invitation right now. I like you, doctor. You seem like a very kind, generous man.
Okay.
I
So
want to trade personal information with you. And afterwards, if you want to do a private Zoom when we sit down and talk, I would love to help you in any way I can.
thank
And
you
you
so
can
much,
report back
Stanley.
to your listeners as they watch And as they gradually see less and less and less of you.
Yeah, they do do interact and connect with me, and I have shared my journey with them that I'm embarking on that. So I would really, really take on that opportunity, Stanley. That would be very helpful. And also that's a way for them to understand that it actually works.
It
This
does.
actually works.
You can do it.
That's a magic. They don't believe that weight loss is a magic that
Well,
just appears,
do we have 5 more minutes
Yeah,
where I can
sure,
talk about
sure,
that? Okay, here.
sure.
I've identified 4 things that determine whether or not you're going to be successful. And these 4 things are part of my whole system. This is my whole system. You see it on the big chart behind me as well. But this is my whole system, and this is on my websites.
Okay.
But these are the 4 things. The first one is willingness. Okay. If you want to succeed, you have to be willing to permanently do what it takes for the rest of your hopefully very long, hopefully very healthy, hopefully very happy life. You have to be willing to do what it takes. But I'm going to make it easier for you. You don't have to do that. You get to do that. It is your privilege to do that. You are still alive. You are still breathing. You can do those things. It's your privilege to do it. If you're dead, it's too late. It's no longer your privilege. You can't do it. But you're still alive. You're still breathing. So it's not too late. But you have to be willing to do what it takes for the rest of your life. Now, the second one, you mentioned it, belief. Okay. Belief. I've already told you, I learned that I am more powerful than I ever imagined. And I suggested to your listeners that so are you. Well, here you go. You are more powerful than you ever imagined. Remember that. Believe it. Act upon that belief. You have it within you. Look, I failed many times. I mean, I had times where I lost 100 and put weight back on. That's what, 50, 60 kilos. I lost that much weight and put it back on. But ultimately, I lost 102 kilos and kept it off.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
because
amazing.
that's the difference between these 2 pictures is 102 kilos. Pretty crazy, isn't it? Now, that's believe it. But I told you, I'm a pretty confident man. I was raised to be confident. I was taught to be confident. Yet the experience of doing what I did blew my mind. I surprised myself. I surpassed my own beliefs. So the lesson for you is you can do it too. Surpass your own beliefs. Get rid of your limits. That's one of the reasons I walk as much as I do. It's not because I'm crazy. It's because I enjoy the walking. It's meditative for me. And I do it because I can. I want to see what I can do. I'm 66 years old and I walked from Los Angeles almost to London last year. If over the last 17 years since that date I told you I woke up, February 1st, 2009, if you take the Earth at the equator, I've gone around the globe 2.92 times. And on my present pace, June or July, it'll be 3 times when I'll get around.
Wow.
Now, and I'm not stopping. I'm doing it because but you can do things and you don't have to do what I do. The world already has one Stanley. It doesn't need another, but it does need you to be the best you that you can be. And it needs you to be happy, healthy, and wise. Now, then we're almost done. Discipline. I don't mean punishment. What you're doing does not need to be punishment. It doesn't need to feel like punishment. I'm talking about self-discipline. Identifying all your negative habits. Yes, there's the website. There you go. Identifying all your negative habits and eliminating them. For me, it was drinking alcohol. Boom, gone. That's a message from one of our first members. She totally changed her life. Now, but you eliminate your negative habits. I was drinking every day. Gone. Drinking soda pop every day. Gone.
Gone.
Sitting on my rear end every day. Gone. And then replacing it with positive habits. Eating healthy food. Putting healthy food in my mouth. Positive habit. Walking every day. Positive habit. And things like that. That's what I mean by discipline. It's adjusting your habits accordingly. But now let's make it all even easier. Commitment. When you become 100% committed to something, it becomes easier. I'll give you an example. I am 100% committed that no unhealthy food is going to enter my mouth.
Right.
Before Christmas, I had another lawyer who I worked with. They delivered gourmet cupcakes and cookies to me. They obviously didn't know how I eat, but they delivered gourmet cupcakes and cookies. The thought of eating them never occurred to me. I didn't ask myself, could I eat one of these cupcakes or cookies? I could. I mean, I have no doubt in my mind that if I ate one of those cupcakes or cookies, I would not put on 100 pounds. But I also know that I have no business eating cupcakes or cookies. I have already eaten my lifetime share of cupcakes and cookies. I've eaten your lifetime share of cupcakes and cookies, and I have probably eaten 20 other people's share of lifetime share of cupcakes and cookies. I don't need them anymore. And
Right.
I'm going to share with you
Exactly.
another little tip. You can taste food without putting it in your mouth. I looked at those cupcakes and cookies and I immediately envisioned what they tasted like. I could literally taste it in my mouth. I knew what it tasted like because I've had these before. And then I gave the cupcakes and cookies to a neighbor who's very skinny, who likes that kind of food. And I gave them to her and she was grateful and everybody was happy. That's because I'm 100% committed. I'm 100% committed that I'm going to walk every day. And by walking every day, my definition is that I walk at least 2 hours a day every day. Now I walk a lot
That's
more than
clear.
that.
Yeah.
I walk 5 or 6 hours a day, but I work from home. I have a computer on my treadmill at home, so I am able to work while I'm walking. So I've combined tasks. Not everyone can do that. I'm not telling you have to do that. I'm telling you walk 20 minutes a day. And if you have 2 legs, and unless you're crippled or infirm, you should be able to do that. And if you
For
can't do
sure.
20, and if you can't do 20, do 10, do 5, do something.
Yes,
Do it.
indeed.
When I started walking, I had trouble walking 2 blocks.
Yeah, for sure. It
Yeah.
it does indeed like take some habit to develop walking regularly. And I really like, Stanley, how you mentioned about training your mindset of not having food or not resist that craving of food when you see that.
Yeah.
So this is one of the vital things that is really hard to do, but also
It's not
which is
hard.
really important to do.
See, I believe in word choices.
Okay,
When
that's
we
helpful. Yeah,
when
that's
we
not
say
hard.
something is hard, it's going to be hard. It's not
Yes,
hard. Can I tell you something?
that's true. Yeah,
Walking around like this was hard. What I do today is easy compared to that. I'll give
for
you an
sure.
example. This happened to me a couple of years ago. I was in Costco
Hmm.
buying bird seed. They had huge 50-pound bags of bird seeds. And what those are like 30 kilograms each, probably, of bird seed. I bought 4 of them. That's 200 pounds. You know, maybe it's probably more closer to 25 kilos each. That's so on that cart, I had 200 pounds, close to almost 100 kilos. I'm pushing this cart through the store and I'm huffing and puffing because the cart is heavy, pushing it through the store. And then I realized that's how much weight I used to carry on my body. I used to walk around with my body. And that's how hard I was making it on myself. What I do now is easy. If we tell ourselves something's going to be hard, it's going to be hard. If we believe we can do something, we can do it. If we don't believe we can do something, we're not going to be able to do it. Our minds, listen, that's why I talked about diet. Diet is also the thoughts you put in your head. I'm telling you right now, 90% of what it takes to lose weight in a healthy manner is between your ears.
Right. Yeah.
And that applies to any addiction. That applies to any area of your life where you want to improve yourself. Now, realize something here. When you're embarking on this journey, the goal is not perfection. The goal is excellence. You are a human being. You are going to mess up. Promise you. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. You're gonna make mistakes. Well, mistakes are proof that you're trying. The question is, what do you do when you make a mistake? Do you beat yourself over the head and quit? Do you blame yourself? Do you punish yourself? Or do you say, I messed up. Here's what I've learned from that. I'm going to do better tomorrow. There's an old saying, fall down 7 times, get up 8. Every time you fall down, get going. It's all about, to be successful in anything, it requires 2 things. It requires starting and it requires never stopping. That's what it requires. Start and never stop. If you have a good day, wonderful. If you had a bad day, start again. Now, your goal is simple. You want to beat yesterday. You want to do better today than you did yesterday, better tomorrow than you did today. Now, if you have a bad day and you mess up, as long as you get started again the next day, that's okay. That is beating yesterday. Because in the past,
Indeed.
whenever you messed up, you quit. But now if you mess up, You say, okay, I messed up. I'm going to start again. That's better than yesterday. You did a better job. Good. Keep going. See, I am now in year 18 of beating yesterday. That's how I am able to do what I do. This did not happen overnight. It was not a straight line. I had good days. I had bad days. I had successes. I had failures, but I got started and I never stopped. And that's what I suggest to people. Get started, never stop. All this, everything I'm talking about, it's all on my main website. The easiest thing is if people go to the wayofexcellence.com, and if you have that, and if you can put that in the show notes, thewayofexcellence.com, if you go there at the bottom of the page, there's also a link to the weight loss website. So you can get to both of them through there. And that website has all of my books listed on it for free digital download. They're yours for free. You don't have to do anything. You can contact me through there if you want to contact me, if you have questions, if you want to say thank you, if you want to work with me privately, whatever, you can do that. And you can go to the weight loss website, create an account on there. It's set up. It has a system where you just start here, go to step 1, step 2, step 3, all the way through. And it helps you get going. Because I'm a believer in systems. Make this simple so that everyone can do it.
Thank you so much, Stanley, for sharing those wonderful words of wisdom and encouragement. And from your own personal experience, I personally have benefited a lot from those discussions, and it really, really helped me to get some ideas of what I need to modify in my diet and build that habit of walking. And I'm sure it also is affecting millions of our listeners who are listening to this podcast and around the world, and how they can motivate and train their mindset with your words of encouragement and with your resources. Dear listeners, I'm going to list Stanley's resources, the websites, in the description of the podcast, as well as in YouTube and in on the other channels. Also, if you wish to know more about Stanley and his resources and its methods and techniques, one way of doing that is visiting our website, activeactionlab.com. Search Stanley's name, his webpage will appear, and that webpage will have all the links, bios, and everything of Stanley in one area so that you can access those easily.
Can I revise one thing that you said?
Yeah, for sure.
You said,
for sure, Stanley,
these are all things that you have to do. Nope. You don't have to do them. You get to do them.
Again, that's correct, Stanley. Yes.
I
get to do them because I'm alive. Thank you so much, Stanley, for your wonderful words of wisdom and for joining to this podcast. I'm sure our listeners will have a lot of questions after this, but if they do, again, dear listeners, you will have those links so you can contact with Stanley if you want to learn more.
We're both here to help. No doubt about it.
Indeed. Thank you again, Stanley, for joining the podcast. Dear listeners, if you have enjoyed the episode, please feel free to share it with your friends and family who you also might think could benefit from Stanley's words of wisdom. And keep listening to our podcast. I'll meet you in another episode, another day, with another amazing guest. Until then, stay active, take action. Have a wonderful day if you want.
Thank you.
Thank you.